grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun. We've no less days to sing God's praise when we've been there before.
Every mountain you've brought me over. For every trial you've seen me through. For every blessing, Lord, I say hallelujah. For this I give you praise. For every mountain, oh, you brought me over. For every trial, yeah, you've seen me through. Lord, I say hallelujah, yeah, hallelujah. For this I give you praise.
Some of y'all, when you really ask the question, as successful as you are, there's still this notion of community, regardless of how many degrees the person next to you have or does not have. This notion of community surrounds us all, right? So are you a neighbor or a brother or sister in the sibling sense? So when he gives this beloved community analogy, it's very deep, and it sort of touches my spirit in a deep way. So I say what's good, because when you're greeting somebody in your community, why not start with the affirmative? What's good? Tell me something good, right? It's a colloquial term, sort of slang, some might call it, black English, ebonics, whatever term you want to use. But the notion is, what's good? I greet you with a proactive, positive frame. What's good, right? Now, you can say what's up and whatever else, but I like that what's good piece because it puts you in a certain direction. So a community member, a sibling, right? Or you just a neighbor, and your neighbor could be at work, the person next to you in the desk next door, you hardly know them. You say hi and bye. You say, oh, our workplace is so diverse. I'm a diversity trainer also, right? So people say, oh, we have a diverse workplace. I say, okay, tell me about it. They say, oh, we have this amount of women and low socioeconomic status and race and gender, all this other thing. I'm like, okay, that's cool. So you have diversity of bodies, but do you have diversity of spirit? Huh. Is there any intimacy? You could have a room full of diversity like you have here. Y'all don't know the next thing about each other. I went to Benjamin Cardozo High School in Queens, New York. Diverse high school. I walk into the cafeteria, it was the United Nations. Blacks over there, whites over there, Asians over there, Hispanics over there. It was a diverse school, but it was a diverse experience. So just to say you're in a workplace where there's high diversity doesn't mean anything if you don't dig past the surface to get to know that, to commune, to connect with it in an intimate way, right? Etymologically speaking, to connect with somebody beyond the surface. Are we doing that beyond the label or the description of diversity? I just said something. When you hear Martin King speak, all he does is remind us of who we said we are. That's all he does. When you listen to the speeches, he constantly talks about the American. He said, I have a dream deeply rooted in what? The American dream. And he talks about life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. He talks about freedom. He talks about humanity. He talks about looking at another person and valuing them for who they are and not the package that they come in. That's what the Constitution, Declaration of Independence talks about. We hold these truths to be what? Self-evident. Meaning it's plain. You can see it. All men are created equal. Men is, it's a gender issue, but anyway, right? Finally, question I'll ask you for this, and then I'm pretty much close. What is your color purple? You say, well, what do you mean? I say, let me do it this way. People hear the color purple, they think of the movie. Sister, right? Every black woman I know can quote something from Color Purple. You told Harpo to beat me, right? All my life, I had to fight, right? Right? So we think the color purple, we think of this movie, right? Here's the deal, I want to take it a little bit deeper. What you got to understand about the color purple is very, very impactful. From the Latin purpura, originally man could not manufacture colors. It came from animals and plant life. And purple was the most difficult color to produce, right? So basically the Phoenicians or Tyrans back in that day, this is several thousand years BC, what they would do is to produce the color purple, you had to take sea snails out of the sea. Thousands of them. You take the shells off of them. So the snail is there sort of naked, right? And then you let them sit in the sun. You would squeeze their glands and a fluid would come out. You put that fluid in a bowl or basin, and it was small amounts per snail. You had to have thousands of them, right, to make a decent batch. You put them in a bowl or a basin, they would sit for 3 days. First, the fluid would turn white, then green, and then purple. It took a lot of time. That's why purple was so valued. It was the color of royalty, of noblemen, and of clergy, because it was so unique and difficult to produce, right? But the notion is these animals sacrificed their lives, right? Spent 3 days in the sun to produce this significant color that everybody valued. The question for you, if you're missing it, right now, these are your days in the sun. And on your great getting up morning, when you leave this place, what will you leave behind that others will value? I just said something. In other words, what is your color purple? If you were to disappear tonight, who would miss you? Who would be impacted, right? Within your sphere of influence, what is your level of significance? I don't care about a title, I care about impact and significance. How significant are you to others? What is your color purple? What is that unique piece of you of these billions of people that you're going to leave behind that other people will value? So every time you see the color purple, I want you to think about that. I called my daughter, 10 years old. She loves purple. I called, I said, because I'm writing this up. I said, well, why do you like purple so much? She's like, I said, what's your favorite color? She said, purple. I knew it was purple. I said, why do you like purple so much? She's like, I don't know. Just when I look at it, it just makes me feel good. I don't know what it is about purple. I just like it. Right? And so for many young people, especially little girls, they like purple for whatever reason. So what is your color purple? So I'll leave you with this. The final question for you, and I know that you've been hanging with me for a while, and I appreciate that. Final question. Are you a partition wall or a load-bearing wall? All right. Check it out. I like real estate. I like construction. So I go by construction sites, and you know when they're building a house, so when you build a house, you dig the foundation, whether it's a basement foundation or whether it's a platform, you dig the periphery, and you put down a foundation in order to build the walls. So say you have a 2-story house. Now in any multi-story house, even in a place like this, multi-story, you have walls that separate rooms, separate space, they're called partition walls. And then you have walls that hold up the floors that are upper. Those are called load-bearing walls. When you watch TVs like HGTV, renovation shows, they can knock down those partition walls, but they can't knock down the load-bearing walls. Why? Because it will compromise the structural integrity of the house. I just said something, y'all missed it. Some of y'all in here need to ask yourself, am I a partition wall? Am I just good for show? Am I just separating space? Can I be knocked down with the weakest wind that blows? Or am I a load-bearing wall that when the storm comes and the earth shakes, it is part of my responsibility to keep the house standing? Let's make it plain. Let's talk about this American house that's under attack right now. There's a storm blowing. Do we have enough integrity, structural integrity in the room of our leaders and our citizens to keep the American house standing with minimal damage? Or would we just move around and go with the flow and be knocked down like a partition wall? Go along and get along. Are you a thermometer or a thermostat? I'm just a little extra. This is not even on the script. All right, I'll close this up. Thermometer or thermostat, what do I mean? What is a thermometer? Thermometer. Meter means heat. Meter means measure. Thermo means heat. Measure of heat. Thermometer. Thermostat. Stat means state. Thermo means heat. It is a state of. A thermostat versus a thermometer. A thermometer in your car, it tells you what temperature it is, right? In your house, what temperature it is. It reflects the environment, right? It reflects the environment. So when the sun comes up, the mercury rises in the thermometer or falls. It responds to the environment. Unlike a thermostat. A thermostat influences the environment. If it was hot in here and you came in and you wanted to change the temperature, what would you do? You go to the thermostat, state of. It influences the room. What matter of man or woman are you? Are you a thermometer woman? Thermometer man? You enter a new environment, you go along and get along. People are cursing, saying the N-word and this and calling people that and not approving this budget and cutting out this program that you believe in. You say, oh, well, I want to belong. I go along to get along. That's a thermometer person, right? The thermometer parent who says, I don't want my kid drinking those sodas, eating that sugar, but they go to that little teen party or whatever it might be, or what do they call them? Play dates? Go to a little play date, and the other kids are eating, like, okay, I guess they get. No! If you have a principle stand, stick to it. Be a thermostat. I was in Los Angeles with my line brothers. I pledged a fraternity. This is about 20 years ago. I'm in LA. I'm finishing right now. I'm for real. I'm in LA with my friends, right? So we're in there, we're talking, chicken and brew, hanging out. And one of my line brothers, he walks in the house. He's like, oh, where the hoes at, right? And I was like, ooh, whoa, right? That was vernacular for him. He was like, oh, no, I'm sorry, Brian's here. I mean, where are my African queens and princesses and at, right? And I was like, yes, why? That was a thermostat moment for me. I don't call women out of their name. And B's and H's and that sort of thing. I don't say the N-word, I don't curse, haven't for over 15 years. That's me. I don't judge other folks, but I have a thermostat principle where I don't do that. So when people know that about me and they're around me, I influence their behavior. The question is this: what happens when you walk in the room? What happens when you walk in a room? Does the standards rise? Do righteous principles become more relevant? Or it's like, oh, it's on now. We partying now. We can cheat now. We can take a 2-hour lunch now. We can get over now. How do you impact the room when you walk in? What is your brand? Are you a thermostat leader that brings people up to a righteous level? Are you a thermometer person that just will adjust to anything that got going on? I'm here to tell you that Martin King, the day that we acknowledge today, 50 years dead now, Martin King, Morehouse man, Martin King, some would call a version of a human leader and Messiah of that time. I don't give him biblical standing, but I know what folks mean because he was leading folks, seeing things over the mountaintop. Martin King, a thermostat man. They wanted him to do all kinds of things. He said, no. Martin, why don't you get paid to live in a big house? No, I want to feed these people who are poor. Martin, why don't you drive in this big car and so forth? No, I want to take care of other folks that need to be taken care of. Why don't you go home with your family, these kids near you? My Coretta gave me a check. She said, go ahead and do your thing. So I'm out here working for the people. He sacrificed his time, his treasure, his talent to help us. And without Africa, there'd be no Martin Luther King.